Have you ever, you know, found yourself on that standard path? Go to school, get the good job, save up,
Hmm.
but still wondered, is there maybe another way?
Another playbook for money, maybe.
Exactly. What if some of the money lessons we all kind of grew up with were actually, well, holding us back?
It's a common feeling, I think.
Well, today we're diving deep into a book that really shook things up for millions. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's massively influential.
Oh, absolutely. Hard to overstate its impact.
And our source for this deep dive is a really thorough review. It's done the legwork, giving us the full picture, the core ideas, the strengths, and yeah, the criticisms too.
Which is great. Gives us a balanced perspective right from the start.
So our mission today, let's pull out the most important nuggets, the key insights from this review. We want to help you, the listener, really get the core concepts of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, maybe spark some new thinking about your own finances without, drowning in details.
Sounds like a plan. It's definitely a book that gets under your skin, makes you rethink things. So, setting the stage a bit. Robert Kiyosaki, published back in 1997.
Right, personal finance self-help shelf.
Exactly. And the main thrust isn't just how to get rich quick. It's really about fundamentally changing your mindset towards money and building wealth, challenging those old assumptions.
Okay, let's get into that core idea then, because it's really the heart of the book. Kiyosaki basically frames everything by contrasting two dads, right? Two father figures.
Do totally different philosophies.
So first there's poor dad.
Yeah.
That was his actual father. Highly educated, believed in school, stable job. The traditional route sounds pretty familiar, I think.
To most of us, yeah, that's the path we're generally taught.
Then you have rich dad. This was his friend's father, a businessman. And he was the one teaching Kiyosaki about investing, building wealth actively.
It's a really clever setup.
It is, yeah, a fascinating contrast.
And the review really points this narrative structure, pitting these two paths against each other. That's key to the book's impact. It doesn't just list principles, it shows you these diverging roads.
Makes it stick.
Totally. The review stresses that the book's real power is in changing how you think, rather than giving you like a 5-step investment plan.
Right. So let's dig into those pillars then, starting with maybe the most famous one, assets versus liabilities. The review says Kiyosaki just completely flips the script here.
He really does.
His main lesson, buy assets, avoid liabilities. Simple enough on the surface.
But then come the definitions.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really interesting and controversial. Assets, for Kiyosaki, are things that put money in your pocket. Think investments, rental properties, dividend stocks.
Things that generate cash flow.
Exactly. And liabilities, they take money out of your pocket,
Yeah.
like, a big car loan, credit card debt. And here's the kicker, potentially your own house.
And that's the one that gets people really talking. The review spends a good chunk of time on this redefinition. Because, think about it, most people see their house as their biggest asset.
Of course, it's the classic advice.
But Kiyosaki argues, well, if it's not generating income for you, and it's constantly costing you money, mortgage, taxes, repairs, then functionally, it's a liability.
Wow. That forces you to look at everything differently, doesn't it? Is this thing making me money or costing me money?
Precisely. It's a very different lens for evaluating your possessions and, well, your financial decisions.
Okay, and flowing from that, Kiyosaki really hammers on the importance of financial education, like real financial literacy.
Yeah, he argues that traditional schooling is great for getting you, professional skills for a job.
Sure, makes you a good employee.
Right. But it often completely misses teaching you how money actually works. Taxes, debt, investing, the practical stuff.
The review highlights this as a critical point, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Kiyosaki essentially says these skills understanding money are way more crucial for financial independence than maybe your academic grades were. It really backs up that saying, the more you learn, the more you earn, but specifically about finance.
And building on that, there's the idea of work to learn, not just to earn. What's that about?
Well, it's about prioritizing gaining valuable skills. Things like sales, marketing, understanding investments over just chasing the highest salary or job security right now.
So not just thinking about the immediate paycheck.
Exactly. The review frames this as a strategic, long-term play. It's about building resilience. If you have diverse skills, you can potentially create multiple income streams. You're not solely reliant on that one job.
Which feels more secure in the long run, maybe.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
It's about adaptability, building your capacity.
Okay, and that connects to his next piece of advice. Mind your own business. Which sounds a bit blunt, But what does he mean?
Huh? Yeah, it does sound that way. But it's not necessarily quit your job tomorrow. It's more about building and growing your own assets, your own ventures, separate from your main job.
Even while you're still employed.
Yes, even then, the core message, as the review puts it, is always be thinking, how can I make my money work for me? Instead of just constantly working for money.
Shifting from wage earner to asset builder.
You got it, even if it's starting small on the side. It's that mindset shift again.
Now, Kiyosaki also gets into something maybe a bit more advanced.
Yeah.
The strategic power of corporations.
Ah, yes. This is interesting. He talks about how wealthier individuals often use corporate structures.
Not just for running a business, but for tax reasons.
That's a big part of it, yeah. And protecting assets. The review highlights this as showing a kind of different financial playbook exists. Learning how to structure income smartly, maybe using business expenses before taxes hit.
Stuff most regular employees don't really learn about.
Generally, no. It's a different set of rules, almost.
And finally, a big one. Overcoming fear and cynicism. He talks about how the fear of losing money just paralyzes people, stops them from investing at all.
It's a huge barrier, absolutely. We all feel it to some extent.
So what's his counter?
Well, his argument, which the review finds pretty empowering, is don't just avoid risk. Learn to manage it. Reduce it through education, through experience.
So knowledge reduces fear.
In a way, yes. It makes the risks feel less like, a blind leap and more like calculated steps.
Yeah.
It really raises that question of how much our mindset, our psychology dictates our financial actions.
It's often more mental than mathematical.
So true.
Okay, so with all these, let's say, unconventional ideas, why did this book become such a massive hit? The review points to its accessibility first, right?
Definitely. It's written in really simple, straightforward language. No jargon, really. Makes these big ideas feel understandable for pretty much anyone.
That's huge.
And beyond that, its motivational power is just undeniable. The review really emphasizes this. It gets people excited about thinking differently about money, shifting from feeling stuck to seeing possibilities.
It focuses more on that mindset change than just the nitty-gritty details.
Exactly. That's a major draw.
Yeah.
And it strongly encourages thinking about entrepreneurship, about passive income, rental income, dividends, things that make money without you actively working hour for hour.
But of course, it's not perfect. No book is. Yeah. What are the main criticisms that the review highlights?
Yeah, it's important to look at those. A big one is that it's more motivational than practical in terms of how to. It doesn't really give you detailed step-by-step investment strategies.
So it gets you fired up, but maybe doesn't tell you exactly what to do next.
Kind of, yeah. That's a common critique. The review also mentions that some stories, while effective, can feel a bit, maybe exaggerated, or perhaps idealistic.
Okay. Any other points?
There's a definite heavy focus on real estate as the main path to wealth, which is fine, but it might not be the right fit for everyone's situation or risk appetite.
True. Diversification is usually key.
Right. And the review also notes, quite fairly I think, that some advice is quite general. It might not apply universally across different economies or, different personal circumstances. Always need that grain of salt.
Good points. But despite all that, the impact is undeniable. The review mentions it's consistently one of the top personal finance books ever, globally. Millions and millions sold.
The legacy is huge. It genuinely inspired countless people to challenge their assumptions, maybe start a side hustle, start investing, really focus on financial freedom as a goal.
And it spawned a whole series too, right? Like Cash Flow Quadrant.
Exactly. That one delves deeper into the different ways people earn income. Employee, self-employed, business owner, investor. It really cemented Kiyosaki's place in the whole personal finance conversation.
So wrapping up the verdict from our source review, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is basically a great mindset-changing book, especially if you want to start thinking beyond just living paycheck to paycheck.
That sums it up perfectly, I think. It won't give you the ABC of investing, maybe, but it will light a fire under you. It'll make you look at money, assets, and your own potential through a completely different and hopefully more empowering lens.
It's like a catalyst.
Precisely. A catalyst for thinking differently.
So let's leave our listeners with a final thought. Building on these ideas of assets and liabilities, what if we apply that beyond just money?
Interesting. Like, what else in life?
Yeah, think about it. What in your life is truly an asset, something that adds value, energy, growth, and what might be a liability, something that drains your time, your energy, your resources?
Could be relationships, habits, even how you spend your free time.
Exactly. So maybe take that framework, questioning conventional wisdom, thinking about assets versus liabilities, and apply it more broadly.
Explore financial literacy, yes, but also just critical thinking about the standard path in whatever area matters most to you.
Food for thought.